So I want you to think about the last decision you made today. Like, maybe it was literally just a few seconds ago, deciding to click play on this very deep dive.
Or, maybe it was earlier this morning, like standing in your kitchen, just staring into the pantry and choosing exactly what you're going to have for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. You weighed the options, you kind of considered your appetite, you made a call, and you acted on it. It feels completely real, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the agency, the control.
Right. It feels like you're the one in the driver's seat.
But what if I told you that you didn't actually make that choice at all? Like, none of it.
It's a profoundly unsettling thought. Just the idea that the steering wheel we grip so tightly every single day, the one we are just constantly adjusting to navigate our lives, isn't actually connected to the tires in any meaningful way.
Yeah, that terrifying disconnect is kind of the radical, honestly paradigm-shifting question we are unpacking today.
We're getting into some pretty heavy stuff.
We really are. We're diving into this fascinating essay, and it's simply titled, Humans Have No Choice. It was written by Feng back in May 2024, translated by Kinyu. And the mission of our deep dive today is to explore the author's incredibly provocative central argument.
Which is that absolute determinism, the idea that we have zero free will, zero actual choice in our lives, is not some depressing, nihilistic cause for despair.
Right.
According to this philosophy, it's actually the ultimate shortcut to living a joyful, liberated life.
Which is wild, because that's a massive pivot from how we normally view determinism here in the West, where it's usually, equated with fatalism. Like, why even bother?
Apathy, yeah, just giving up. But what makes this perspective so compelling is how it builds that argument layer by layer. We're going to examine how this philosophy scales from the microscopic details of our daily habits, like that breakfast choice, all the way out to the macroscopic movements of human civilization.
So I'd encourage you to leave your everyday assumptions about human autonomy at the door, just for the next few minutes. Let's start where our lives begin, because to understand how this whole illusion of choice is dismantled, we really have to look at the unchosen foundations of our existence.
Yeah, the starting blocks.
Exactly. The author sets this up by drawing a really stark contrast between the perception of youth and the reality of old age. Like, when we're young, brimming with energy, life feels like this giant blank canvas.
Oh, totally. You think about all the people you're going to meet, the careers you're going to conquer.
The unique paths we're going to carve out. But the argument here is that as we age and we kind of look back, we realize those paths weren't choices at all. They were orchestrated by this unseen force.
Because old age brings this profound clarity, right? A retrospective realization. You look back at the chaotic, seemingly random sequence of your life, and suddenly it looks less like a series of spontaneous decisions and more like a carefully choreographed sequence.
Like a script.
Exactly like a script. And to illustrate the sheer scale of this unseen force, we are asked to look up at the night sky. Think about the celestial bodies. They've been there for decades. Through your father's time, your grandfather's time, your great-grandfather's time.
Just moving rapidly in their assigned places.
Right. They have incredible speed and energy, but absolutely zero power to choose their orbit.
Yeah.
So why do we assume we are any different from the stars?
I mean, that is the pivotal question right there. We assume we're different because we possess consciousness. We think, therefore we choose. Right.
But consciousness doesn't equate to causation. And the essay creates a very tight perimeter around human existence by listing out the foundational building blocks of our identity and saying, look, none of this was your doing.
Yeah, the list is pretty staggering when you actually put it all together. Like, who chooses their parents?
Yeah.
Their birthplace? Their ethnicity, race, gender, appearance, or siblings?
Exactly.
Who has a single say in their own DNA? The essay even points out that the circumstances, the timing, and the location of our death are completely beyond our conscious control.
It just completely strips away the ego's claim to self-creation. You are handed a biological and environmental starting point that dictates almost everything about how you will interact with the world.
It totally reminds me of booting up a complex RPG video game.
Oh, like a role-playing game.
Yeah. Usually in those games, you spend an hour tweaking your character's cheekbones, picking their starting stats, choosing a backstory. But in this scenario, you boot up the game and your character's stats, their lore, the server they are playing on, the initial quest line, it's all completely pre-selected. You just spawn in and start running.
That's a great way to put it.
But see, here's the thing. I can accept that. I didn't choose my DNA. I didn't choose the era I was born into. But the real friction for me starts when we get to the active milestones.
The big life event.
Right, because the author claims that the spouses we marry, the children we have, the people we just randomly bump into, and even the illnesses we endure are also preordained. I mean, I actively pursued my partner. I chose my friends. How can anyone justify taking away those defining life choices?
Well, because the concept of quote-unquote active pursuit is just the mechanism by which the preordained event occurs. This is where people really struggle the most with determinism.
I mean, yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow.
It is. But the viewpoint here is that what we perceive as active choices, or serendipitous meetings, or tragic misfortunes, are actually orchestrated arrangements. Like when you met your partner, it felt like a series of fortunate random choices led to that specific coffee shop at that specific time.
Felt magical, yeah.
But the argument is that it was an intricate choreography of destiny. You were always meant to experience that meeting.
So the feeling of serendipity is just, what, the script revealing itself to the actor?
Let's frame it as psychological comfort. The illusion of choice is the psychological mechanism that allows you to experience the preordained path without feeling like a literal robot.
Oh, wow. So you feel the romance of the serendipitous meeting, but the meeting itself was totally inevitable.
Exactly. Destiny isn't just about the broad strokes. It is governing the fine details.
Okay. I can maybe accept the cosmic scale of destiny governing major life events. But what about my lunch?
Your lunch.
Yeah, like if I don't choose my destiny, my DNA, or my partner, surely I choose my coffee order.
All right.
Let's look at the mundane daily decisions. Rice or noodles? Coffee or tea? Chinese or Western cuisine? Do I go out to a night market tonight, or do I stay home and just scroll through TikTok?
Right, the micro decisions.
In these micro moments, we feel completely empowered. I mean, nobody is holding a gun to my head telling me to drink coffee instead of tea.
The autonomy you feel in that exact moment is really compelling, I'll give you that. But the essay argues it's an illusion generated by a lack of perspective. When you make that choice between coffee and tea, you feel like you are generating an independent decision in a vacuum. You think, I just feel like having coffee.
Yeah, because I do.
But if we rigorously trace the origin of that specific feeling, what do we actually find?
We find inputs.
Yes, we find inputs. The impulse is dictated entirely by your cultural history, your ingrained habits, your accumulated preferences, your physiological state in that specific moment, and your acquired tastes.
Which all go back to the unchosen stuff.
Exactly, all of which were shaped by foundational elements you did not choose. You didn't choose the culture that normalized coffee consumption. You didn't choose the biological receptors on your tongue that find the bitterness pleasing.
So my preference for coffee isn't a free choice. It is just the inevitable mathematical output of my DNA interacting with my upbringing and my environment.
Yeah. The metaphor Suofeng uses here is quite stark. He says we are puppets, guided by the hands of fate, mere programs within an intricate network. Your daily choices are just the program executing its code based on the data it has been fed.
That metaphor of the program running its code, man, it makes me think immediately of a social media recommendation algorithm, like the TikTok example from earlier.
Oh, that's a perfect modern equivalent.
Right. You're sitting on your couch, swiping up. You feel like you are freely choosing to watch the next video and the next and the next. You feel like you're driving the experience because you're the one physically moving your thumb.
But you aren't really driving.
No. The reality is, the algorithm, which perfectly represents our cultural and historical programming in this analogy, has already calculated your preferences. It has measured how many milliseconds you lingered on a cat video versus a cooking video.
It knows what you want before you do.
Exactly. It has paved the path so smoothly that your so-called choice to keep watching was practically guaranteed before you even opened the app.
The algorithm knows you better than you know yourself because it has mapped all your inputs. And in the exact same way, fate has mapped all your variables. You aren't choosing the next video. You're just fulfilling the algorithm's highly educated prediction.
Man, if you're listening to this on your commute right now, your stomach might be dropping just a bit.
It's a heavy realization.
It is. The idea that you didn't actually choose the spouse waiting for you at home or the career you're driving to or even the podcast or, well, the deep dive you are listening to right now.
Yeah.
It feels instinctively wrong. It feels almost claustrophobic. If we are just programs running a script, blindly clicking the next video fate puts in front of us, where does human agency fit in?
It doesn't, and that is the radical nature of absolute determinism. There is no hidden pocket of agency, which leads us to the next massive implication in the text.
Let's hear it.
If individual choices are complete illusions, what happens when billions of these programmed humans interact? Does this mean all of society, all of global civilization is predetermined too?
Well, I mean, it has to be. Based on this logic, the scope just zooms way out from the individual code to the network itself. It takes this exact same logic of determinism and applies it to the grand scale of human history. The author refers to it as humanity's grand play.
Right. And to understand this, look at the natural world. You see immense diversity and stratification. You have predators, prey, scavengers, producers. We just accept that as nature's design.
Sure, it's the food chain.
This philosophy applies that exact same framework directly to the social stratification within human society. Human roles are assigned by this same natural design. So if there are villains in the world, there must be heroes to balance them. If there are philanthropists, there must be agitators.
He's an ecosystem.
An ecosystem of human behavior, exactly, where every role, no matter how disruptive or harmonious, is strictly necessary for the play to function.
Now, Suefeng wades into some highly controversial geopolitical waters here to illustrate this point. And just to be clear to you listening, we're impartially reporting on the text here, not taking any sides. But he looks at why certain regions, like Europe, historically led in technological development and the establishment of modern civilizations compared to regions like China, India, the Middle East, or Africa.
And he views this strictly through his lens of determinism.
Yes, exactly. He argues this historical disparity has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence, and it isn't about one group having a greater desire for progress than another.
The assertion he makes is that the origins and trajectories of different races and regions just reveal a grand design. It is simply the narrative required for humanity's grand play.
Right.
Once you understand this framework, his argument goes, every historical phenomenon seems logical, and every twist becomes an inevitable part of the script rather than some tragic deviation from what, quote-unquote, should have happened.
He also uses some incredibly blunt language for people who spend their time agonizing over the future of the world. Like, he literally calls them fools.
He does not hold back.
No, he doesn't. And he asks this really stark question. Do you think the future of livestock is in their control? The claim is that humanity's future is orchestrated and arranged by higher beings, or this higher cosmic order, much like a farmer manages a herd.
Comparing humanity to livestock is deliberately shocking. It is designed to aggressively strip away our anthropocentric arrogance, this deeply ingrained, almost biological belief that humans are the ultimate masters of the universe's destiny.
Okay, but let's pause there because I have to push back on this sweeping historical determinism. I understand the logic of the system, but if we frame all human history as a grand play where we are just actors reading lines or, livestock in a pen, doesn't this perspective risk making all historical suffering, all oppression, and all human triumph completely meaningless?
It's a very fair question.
Like, if the villains are just assigned their roles by fate, how do we grapple with justice? Are we just supposed to shrug at atrocities because they were scripted?
That is the ultimate friction point. It is exactly where the intellect rebels against absolute determinism. But consider the mechanism of what the author is actually trying to achieve here.
Okay.
The intent isn't to provide a socio-political framework to excuse harm or dismantle the justice system. The goal is purely internal.
Internal how?
Well, the text states that history has settled in the riverbed, the present is etched by the past, and the future is already aligned with reason and the divine arrangement. The psychological tool of viewing history this way is to completely eradicate human worry.
Eradicate worry.
Yes, it is designed to dismantle the ego's insatiable, agonizing need to control the uncontrollable.
Ah, I see. So it's less about excusing the villain on the stage and much more about freeing the observer in the audience from the crushing weight of trying to rewrite the play while it's actively happening.
Exactly. The suffering comes from the resistance to what is. Which actually brings us to the core thesis of this entire philosophy, and honestly, perhaps the most surprising pivot in the whole text.
It is a massive pivot, because up to this point, if you are told that you are a puppet, a line of code, and literal livestock in a preordained historical play, I mean, it sounds like a perfect recipe for absolute nihilism.
Right, why even get out of bed?
Exactly, why try at anything? Yet the conclusion drawn here is that this exact realization, internalizing that we have absolutely no choice, is the only way to achieve ultimate paradise and joy.
Yeah, grasping the principle that humans lack choice doesn't drag you down into despair. It actually elevates you to what is described as a celestial state.
A celestial state.
Yes, the author uses this beautiful imagery of the heart becoming like a clear mirror.
Okay, break down that metaphor for us. How does a clear mirror equal a celestial state?
Well, think about how a mirror operates. A mirror reflects whatever stands in front of it perfectly with total clarity. But the second that object moves away, the mirror is completely empty again. It doesn't grip onto the image of what just left.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it doesn't anxiously anticipate the image of what might step in front of it next. It just reflects the present reality and holds on to nothing.
Wow.
So when you accept you have no choice, your mind becomes that mirror. It isn't clouded by the anxiety of what if or the regret of if only. You can face life with pure equanimity, completely content regardless of your circumstances, because you know you are exactly where you are supposed to be.
To achieve that clear mirror state, the author calls for us to shatter the self-imposed shackles of man-made values.
Yes, he dismisses almost everything modern society tells us is fundamentally important.
Literally everything. Marriage, family, kinship, nationhood, reputation, wealth, poverty. All of these are categorized as human fabrications, just needless worries that cloud our existence.
But consider why those specific concepts cause so much anguish. They all require the illusion of control to maintain.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. They require you to defend them, protect them, constantly strive for them, and fear losing them. When you strip away the illusion of control, the anxiety attached to those concepts vanishes.
So the ultimate advice given is almost a paradox. He says, choose nothing. Let the wind blow, let the seasons shift, associate with others through natural come-and-go relations, and just bloom spontaneously.
Bloom spontaneously. I love that phrasing.
It's like sitting in a self-driving car. If you spend the whole road trip white-knuckling a phantom steering wheel, stomping on an imaginary brake pedal, and just screaming at the traffic, you are going to arrive at your destination completely exhausted and miserable.
Right, and the car was driving itself the whole time anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you accept the car's driving itself, you can just recline the seat, look out the window, and enjoy the view. You're still taking the exact same journey, but the experience transforms from a grueling struggle for survival into a peaceful ride.
That captures the essence perfectly. It is about acting in accordance with one's intrinsic nature, without the exhausting resistance of trying to be the architect of the highway.
But practically speaking, and I have to ask this for everyone listening, is it actually possible to live in modern society while completely discarding concepts like family, reputation, or financial security? I mean, I still have to pay my rent, even if my bank account is a human fabrication. I still have to feed my kids.
And that's where the internal nature of the clear mirror metaphor is absolutely crucial. You don't necessarily have to abandon your physical family, quit your job, and wander off into the woods to utilize this philosophy.
Okay, good.
It's an internal cognitive shift. It's about breaking the mental torment of worrying about the outcomes. By accepting the premise that humans have no choice, there's nothing left to mentally defend or agonize over.
So the actions might look the same from the outside, but the internal experience is different.
Precisely. You still go to work, you still love your family, you still pay your rent, but you do it as a spontaneous expression of your programming rather than an anxious attempt to force an outcome. You surrender the need to control the future, which allows you to actually inhabit the present.
Let's bring this all together. We started with the cosmic realization that our DNA, our life circumstances, and even our most mundane daily preferences are pre-programmed by an intricate network of fate.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We explored how this philosophy scales up, viewing world history and geopolitics not as a chaotic struggle of human wills, but as a flawlessly orchestrated grand play where every role is strictly necessary. And ultimately, this essay offers a radical, counterintuitive invitation.
To put down the heavy, exhausting burden of control.
Yes. I'd ask you to think about the stress you might be carrying right now. Maybe it's a deep anxiety about your career trajectory, a fear of financial instability, or a relationship that is causing you immense frustration. Imagine, just for a few seconds, how light it would feel to momentarily view those worries as human fabrications.
Just let them go.
To sit back in the self-driving car and accept that you are exactly where the universe placed you, playing the exact role you were meant to play, and that the outcome is already beautifully settled.
It is a profound unburdening to truly let go. But I want to leave you with a final lingering paradox to chew on today, something that builds on the very mechanics of this entire framework.
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
If everything in the universe is perfectly preordained down to the atomic level and human choice is entirely an illusion, then what about the profound realization itself?
Yeah.
Think about the implication. If you are a program running a script and you suddenly wake up, read an essay, and realize you are a program, wasn't that awakening also flawlessly scripted by the universe?
Mind blown.
And if so, does the moment the puppet finally accepts its strings mark the exact moment it transforms into the audience?
Man, that is going to keep me up tonight. It really makes you wonder about that breakfast choice this morning, doesn't it? Did you freely choose the toast? Or did the universe simply decide it was time for you to taste the butter?